Hey, see that yellow live button there?
Hey, we are live.
Yes.
It's Sunday night. It's Web
Thank you for
DM.
joining us. Thank you
Please
for
stand
joining
by. I
us.
want to make sure we're getting some viewers here just to double check that we're live before you guys go right into it. So
If
I
we are
just got
getting
an
viewers, I'll give
alert
you a
on
kiss.
my phone that says we are in fact live. So, thank you, phone.
yep, we're live.
And
Cool.
thank you, viewers, for actually viewing.
And for actually doing, thank you very much.
So it's Sunday night, so that means we're talking more Unearthed Arcana. We're going to finish out Fighters today, right, Jim Davis?
We are absolutely going to finish out Fighters today. And
But before we get started,
yes. What are we
speaking
doing?
of Fighters,
What are we doing?
what's that trailer that came out today there, Jim Davis?
Oh, the Wonder Woman trailer. Yes.
Yeah, what'd you think about that?
I'm tentatively excited. You know, I did not care for Suicide Squad, even though I enjoyed parts of it. And the Batman, Superman, Clash of the Dawn, Justice Titans, whatever it was. I just, you know.
I feel the same way. I enjoyed parts of it, but
Parts
as
of
a
it,
whole...
But most of it, no. And that sucks because I used to be a real DC guy and not so much anymore. They lost me.
Me too, man. I grew up reading Superman. I grew up reading Flash and Batman.
So I'm hoping that Wonder Woman's good, and I'm hoping at the very least we'll get a lot of cool imagery and visuals in it to fuel our D&D fighters. For those of us who have a hankering for Xena Warrior Princess type action. And
maybe they're actually will just start copying the Marvel format in this, because this does look very Captain America First Avenger,
yes,
except with Wonder Woman.
Except with Wonder Woman. Yeah.
DC, Warner Brothers, I'm completely fine with that. Do you see how much fun we're having over here with Marvel?
Yeah. So
anyway,
so I'm excited about that, and then so yeah, that's a good way to put it. Every high level fighter should be like Wonder Woman. Right, like she's got those couple of magic items that define her, and that she uses.
Bracers of arrow deflection.
Yeah, and that kick-ass rope. So I don't know, you know, but so I mean, D&D is what it is, and sometimes those high-level fighters are really awesome, and sometimes they're not. I think 5th edition high-level fighters are. We've got 3 options here we're talking about today.
Most definitely. So let's just ride right into the action with the Cavalier.
Absolutely.
You know, how do you feel about the Cavalier?
Man, so okay, all right. Like for the record, I know I mentioned on the show before that I have a master's degree in history. It is specifically in medieval and early modern military history, and my thesis was written on mounted warfare. So I have a huge amount of fascination and respect and just and awe of mounted warriors across the ages, and D&D doesn't reflect that. And I think it probably has something to do with its roots as a team-based dungeon exploring hobby game. And it's just like mounted characters rarely do well in games. I can't think of really any character that has a mount that's a defining part of their shtick.
Right.
In any of the campaigns I've played. You know, even old school paladins who got their mounts as part of their sort of suite of abilities, it was always just an afterthought that they got this particular mount. So
yeah, that's a fair observation.
I don't know. And so on the one hand, like the historical material that D&D draws inspiration from, mounted warriors are hugely important, incredibly influential up until mechanized warfare. And then you take the actual rules of the game, and there's really no reason to get on a mount, very rarely, in D&D. Now, granted, that's how people structure their campaigns. You could obviously have a campaign where having a mount is pretty important. And if you did, then the Cavalier would be an amazing class to take for your fighter. Like, it's got it all, right? Everything you need to be a mounted combatant, sans the feet.
I was going to say that, yes, there was a dearth of rules for that, or abilities to make one excel other than the feat.
Right.
But with this, you do cover it all. But that's the thing is, that's what you do.
That's what
you're good at. So as long as you're on that horse, you are a force to be reckoned with.
You're a force to be reckoned with. And so, this has this feels like the 3rd edition workaround for mounted combatants, where they were usually gnomes or halflings, and they're riding a medium-sized mount that lets them navigate a dungeon fairly well. I can see that trend continuing into 5th edition.
That would be a way to go with this. Where you could get, especially if you get underground, you get like a lizard that can crawl up on walls.
Well, that's what Brondle's Paladin did in our Underdark game with his female Strider, the spider thing.
Yeah.
I could see a weird hybrid of Cavalier and Beastmaster Ranger being fun, right? With your Beastmaster animal being your mount if you're a small character. But if you're a medium character, you're not getting that horse. I like that they get, first off, the bonus proficiencies for Cavalier. You can pick up animal handling here if you didn't get it from your background or from class. One of the others they're nice sort of ribbon abilities. Cavalier does seem like it favors charisma, having a decent charisma.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, fits with the whole idea of a noble mounted warrior who, is part of a aristocratic warrior class that it's clearly inspired by.
Oh, most definitely. And yeah, those bonus proficiencies, including like getting access to a tool proficiency.
Right.
That's pretty nice. Maybe you know how to do a little shoeing, or you're a leather worker, so you make saddles. Who knows? But just to give something else to do outside of combat. Yeah. It's always nice for fighters. Of course, Born of the Saddle. Same with the Knight. You know.
It gets you back in the fight. If your whole deal is that you fight from your mount, and you're worried about being knocked off by, say, a larger monster, or plucked off by a larger monster, and hopefully your mount didn't die in the process, it gets you back on your mount quickly without it costing a bunch.
That's always a bonus.
It is always a bonus.
And the other 3rd level ability, which is one we're going to be repeating a lot tonight, Combat Superiority.
Combat Superiority. So Combat Superiority is going to come with several standard abilities. There's usually always one that's like add to attack, add to damage. Most of them have some sort of defensive ability as well. So those are all sort of the standard combat superiority abilities that you get. I like the lance-based damage boost. And could definitely obviously combined with Ferocious Charger. You're going to want to be using a lance as often as possible with this particular subclass.
Yeah, I mean that's your thing. You want to be a lancer. You want to roll in there and run people down. I mean, you're knocking people prone, especially once you do get that Ferocious Charger, and you're basically smiting with your lance. Putting 2 dice into it.
Right, and so you can do some neat things. I can see using half orc for this, so that you can take advantage of when you crit, getting the extra D12.
Dude,
but one of the things about this particular ability and basing it around the lance is one of those things where it's like, mechanically speaking, by the time you get to high level, you can make as many attacks with your lance as you can with any other weapon that you're using. But conceptually, it's like a lance is a giant weapon that you really use as it's couched, and you plow or hit another object, right? Either you knock another knight off his horse, or you're aiming at an infantryman. And so that just in my mind, and this is something that's been weird because I've used a lance with my paladin on his Mad Celestial Steed in several fights, where at some point it's just like, my mount hasn't moved in 3 rounds, and I'm attacking twice with my lance. Just poke at it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, is like when you're charging and you get those extra attacks, it's like you attack and then you're just kind of like pushing more. Right? You're just like,
I mean, historically speaking, there have been lance wielding cavalry they use it more like a spear. They hold it in 2 hands, they push with it.
Right.
But it's not the kind of charging couched lance type of image that I think of when I think of the Cavalier.
Yeah, so, you're plowing in there with your no, I'm totally with you. And
it's just one of those things where the visuals, the narrative of it, and the rules just start to kind of break down for me.
Yeah, and a Knight's Tale totally messed me up with that because in there like all the lances are exploding into these nebulas of wood. It's like it doesn't really do that.
It's a hollow lance maybe, but there's not enough balsa wood for that. So I don't know, whether DMs make a big deal out of it or not. Clearly the class is based around using that lance to get the extra damage. And like if you're showing up to be a mounted warrior, then Cavalier has everything you need. It's a great complement for the mounted combat and feat. There's no overlap, so you can take the feat and use the subclass and not have to worry about, it's not like say sharpshooter the subclass and sharpshooter the feat.
That's what I was going to say.
And but it does require that the DM go, okay, clearly one of my players picked Cavalier as their subclass, put some open fields in there where put some mounted combat for their their abilities to shine, and they'll just keep stuffing them down in a dungeon where they can't use their class ability otherwise let them make another character.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that needs to be discussed beforehand because I mean this is one of those cases where if you have the entire thing planned for an underground, you're running whatever it is, White Rock.
Right.
Don't I want to make a Cavalier. Well, hang on.
Let's talk about that for a minute, and either see if they're open to an exotic mount that is appropriate for a subterranean environment, or
so they can halfling or gnome it up. Right. But I would totally halfling or gnome it up, and you get like a lizard or something. That would just be freaking awesome.
That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Anyway. So continuing on with their abilities, of course, 10th level they get more, better superiority die. Falls in line with all the other ones, and then of course at 15th, if you don't have any, when you roll initiative, you got one.
When you got one, and those seem to be the standard fare for this type of ability, whether it's Battle Master, or Scout, Monster Hunter, or Cavalier. They all seem to have these building up and improving, and that's nice to see, right? You get extra dice. The value of the dice increases, and you're always guaranteed to have a little bit at the start of a combat. It's nice to have, but at the same time, it shouldn't carry the class, right? And so, moving on to Scout, I feel like that there's not enough Scout, and just a lot of here's combat superiority. And stealth.
I mean, you get 3 skills.
It's 3 skills.
Instead of 2, so you get some more skills.
And you get the option of thieves' tools, and you get perception, stealth, survival. Boom, that covers everything you need for the concept.
And you of course you can use those combat superiority dice to boost those skills. You only get the attack and the defense though, so you don't get a damage boost.
You don't really get a damage boost, no. And you get an AC boost if it's in light or medium armor. And so what I would have liked to have seen is a mobility option here. Give me a superiority dice that gives me some kind of mobility option, the ability to negate an opportunity attack, or the ability to move extra, or something that plays up the fact that this is a lightly armored skirmisher scout type. It's a great. It's an appropriate option for a spellless ranger. If you've got someone in your group that likes the idea of an outdoor wilderness warrior but doesn't like the spells of a ranger, I'd point them towards Scout any day.
Exactly. But here, one of my big problems with Scout though is if you just coming from Cavalier, where they get basically the same combat superiority die abilities, except they get that extra damage for the lance, right?
Right.
And then at 7th level, they get an extra thing with the lance, right?
Yeah.
Where's the fourth option for combat superiority with the Scout? And where's the 7th level extra thing for the Scout? It's just not there.
Or even the extra 3rd level thing. Cavalier gets bonus proficiency, born in the saddle, and combat superiority.
Well, no. They get natural explorer.
Okay,
it's just after combat. So the order.
It makes it seem like, I was reading through it makes it seem like it's 7th level. So even then, it's just kind of natural explorer is okay.
And I would assume that any DM, if you were using the updated Ranger, you would let them use the updated version. Which, oh, I'm sorry, that's the extra stuff you get. That's the 7th level ability is the Natural Explorer. So here's the problem. The updated Ranger, though, and using updated Natural Explorer, you won't get because it's all just, there is no favorite terrain anymore. It's just in nature.
When you're in nature, yeah.
Now it is a little bit more robust,
right,
as an ability, but still, I mean, like we kind of, I think we have harped on before, like just reusing different abilities from other classes. It does fit here.
It fits here, but it's kind of unexciting. And I would have preferred to see something like, what kind of weapons is my scout supposed to be using? Like, I would have seen like something that maybe, you know, let's mix it up and give fighters a reason to take, say, light weapons. You know what I mean? Or something like that, that plays up the fact that the scout is lightly armed, lightly armored. They focus on mobility. Maybe maybe scout gets something with thrown weapons, because God forbid there be a subclass in 5th edition that lets you do anything with a thrown weapon.
Can we please get... Oh my God, Jim, you know I love me some thrown weapons.
I know you do. Right now you have one option, and it is an option we didn't talk about. We talked about with Bards, but Bard of the Blade College has like one ability for throwing daggers. And, you know, there's nothing else. What else are you going to do? You can't make your dagger thrower like you used to make in other editions.
Yeah, I want some Jarek Reynolds action.
Right. I
want to make that character.
And so Scout could have been it. Scout could have been the guy sneaking through the underbrush, javelin in one hand, tossing it at the enemy, you know, melting into the foliage, using a sling. You know, they could have been like that kind of character that uses stealth, cover, light ranged attacks to harass an enemy in a way that's different than, say, a rogue or what have you. I guess now is also the time to say that this is different enough from the rogue scout to be a, I don't know, but you could multi-class and be a scout.
Yeah,
that was your thing.
You could double scout it. No, why not? I guess.
A ranger scout.
And then, of course, you round out the class with the, you know,
standard fare, improved
combat,
standard. So yeah, I think it needs something either that gives it. I don't think an extra skill in the bonus proficiency carries the class, and I don't think just like giving it some extra natural explorer things at 7th level and then the standard combat superiority stuff is enough to carry the class forward. I want like one more ability that defines how this fighter is different than other fighters. Like, how do they fight? What do they do?
Yeah,
are they mobile? Are they using light weapons to kind of harass the enemy? I don't know. That could be fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it could be something as simple as, when using light melee, like thrown or ranged weapons, you get a bonus attack. You can use a bonus attack.
I mean, something like that unlocks a bonus attack with a thrown weapon in the same way that you would get if you were dual wielding.
Because the thing is that would still couple with that. Technically, would still couple with the two-handed fighting or two-weapon fighting.
Yeah.
You can add your damage.
Yeah.
You know, would you say that would? I don't know. Anyway, now we're just
spitballing and whatnot. There's a lot of things. It's a fine start, and if it's included in the big mechanical expansion that's supposed to be coming out later this year, then hopefully they will have tuned it a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the last one, which is the Monster Hunter.
Hunter.
I kind of like this class. I want to be honest, even though it's still a lot of the same.
Still a lot of the same. There's enough that's different about it that's interesting. So you get a bonus proficiency, you pick up some of those knowledge proficiencies that say, you know, so your DM's like, well, you don't really know about this kind of monster. It's like, yeah, I got history and arcana. That should cover most things, or nature and arcana, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I forget if nature's actually on their proficiency list, but
yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. So it's nice that you get those. You get that option, or even just like, say, investigation and perception, and now you're more like you know, the Witcher, coming into a situation and looking for clues and what kind of monster is this? And, you know, I've got a hair sample from the thing, and you know, that kind of monster hunter. So it's good. I'm a fan of proficiencies. I love them. I wish there was more of them and more types of them, and that more classes got more proficiencies. So I'm always a fan of extra proficiencies.
Yeah, most definitely. And moving on to their combat superiority, they get they even get a damage bonus.
They get a damage bonus. They get the attack.
They get the attack. They get the
save boost, man.
Yeah, it's
some of the worst saves in the game.
You're damn right.
You know, that's what I'm liking about this class. Like when
exactly
you know, up until this point, I'm like, okay, but the fact that they can when they really counts, they can boost their save against fear. They can boost their save against charm. They can boost their save to not get shunted to a Dimmet plane for the fight, while the big bad takes care of the squishies and then deals with him one-on-one after the banishment's over. Like, those are the kinds of things that you get, and it shores up a weakness that fighters otherwise have. So I really like that of the abilities that their combat superiority gives them.
Yeah, attack, damage. You got saves, and you got perception checks.
Yeah,
I mean, that rounds out what I think a monster hunter would need.
Monster hunter should need. Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to the hunter's mysticism, detect magic as a bonus as a ritual spell. Nice. When you need it. Protection from evil once a long rest. That's not bad. Protection from evil is a solid defensive first level spell, and for the kind of monsters you would be fighting as a monster hunter, imposing disadvantage, making yourself immune to charm and fear and possession is great. It's like my number one go-to spell with my paladin that I'm playing. And again, like, you're a fighter, what else are you going to use your concentration slot for? So it's not like you're having to compete with anything else. Just get a nice boost. And unless I'm mistaken, you can cast it on other people as well. Yes? Or is it cast on yourself? Yeah, nothing about it says you can't cast it on other people if you need to. So, yeah.
You can cast protection from good and evil. I mean, is that normally a stealth only?
I believe you can cast protection from evil on others. I mean, it's sort of like the go-to, protects you from possession.
Yeah.
You know, usually it is something you can't cast on other people. I know it's one of those things where it's like it might be like it's my memory from earlier editions clouding this edition. In a lot of ways, I kind of wish I could approach 5th edition as my first edition of D&D. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gets rough sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah. So,
but also you get a language.
Bonus language. So I think, like, it's a nice ability. The monster hunter max damage, we use superiority dice for certain creature types, similar to the lance ability. Just like it incentivizes you towards using certain options to support the theme of the subclass. And so that's what I like. It should do that.
Yeah, but and again, where's this 7th level love for the scout? That's all. I mean, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe 2 separate people meant to sign the classes, or you know.
It's just
it
weird.
Is glaring, though. It's glaringly
weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then of course you round out the class with the improved combat superiority, 10th and 18th, and at 15th you get that 1 when you got none.
Yeah.
Which is solid, but I mean, I want to like all 3 of these, and I really like of all of them, I would say I like the Monster Slayer the best, just because it's a lot of fun. I can totally see myself playing that. I can see myself playing a Cavalier, but
in a certain campaign,
a very particular style of campaign. You'd have to be on the road all the time, or out in fields, and you just want to talk about that with your DM. You know?
Yeah. So like a hex crawl type adventure where you're exploring a wilderness location, Cavalier would be great.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But the Scout, it's just like, that is the type of fighter I would love to play, right? I love like the Spellless Ranger, the idea of that. But it's just like,
give me some extra, just like
there's an arm.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Anyway, sorry, I'm just frustrated, and now our fans hate us because we just went back and forth like 50 times with talking, so the camera switched back and forth. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
But all in all, it's a good lot. It's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the abilities are all the same, but it's all built around the same kind of chases.
Well, and I am glad to see that the Unearthed Arcana options they released, sort of the second round of fighters, the ones that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they broke from the combat superiority, method that they'd established with these earlier Unearthed Arcana classes. And so I'd almost kind of be curious, what would these three classes look like if they did away with combat superiority and introduced actual abilities? Now, of course, they might just reintroduce the rapid strike that the other classes.
Well, this is the combat superiority hallway of classes. The other hallway is the rapid strike hallway.
Yes, exactly.
They're all on those particular branches of that fighter tree.
So, like, considering the 5th edition fighter, and it's got the 4 that are in. There's the 3 in the core player's handbook, plus Purple Dragon Knight from Sword Coast, plus these 7. That's a lot of options for your fighter. There's not, just off the top of my head, the only things that I'm seeing missing are like an unarmored fighter that I would like to see. Maybe a grappler, a wrestler, something like that, a pugilist type to counterpoint with the monk.
Yeah.
That would be fun to see. I know that there are some fan options out there. I haven't had a chance to give any of those a shot or try or anything. I know Sterling Berman, which is usually a homebrew outlet that I go to a lot, has a pugilist class that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think I've read through that one before, and it looked pretty neat. But
like I said, never played any of those. But I find myself thinking like, and this is why I'm glad we started off with Wonder Woman, because first level fighter is Game of Thrones.
Right.
It's dirty. It's messy. You're not a superhero yet. But damn it, by the time you're 20th level, you should be like a demigod of war, right? You should, when you walk into a battle, people should notice. And does the fighter fit that? Are they able to do those kind of things and perform those kind of feats in a fight? Because combat should be their sphere. It's great that some of these subclasses give them opportunities in the social and exploration pillars of the game, but their core is still combat.
Yes.
And do they dominate combat? And I go back and forth on this. I know in our fighter episode we said nothing wrong with fighters, play them as is, and I still believe that at the heart of it. Still think fighters in 5th edition are in a solid position. But there's still there's something about me that goes, all right, that's a fighter, but can they wish? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the benchmark that I think of everything at tier 4. And I go, if they can't cast wish, then they're always going to be a little bit behind.
Well,
in my mind. And
that's when the fighter goes, well, I have this wish blade that still has 2 wishes in it.
Right. Yeah.
Why not? That would be my, by that level.
You certainly should have a luck blade or 2, or a ring of wishes, or a genie in your back pocket, or something like that. Well,
I mean, to me, that's what a fighter would seek out.
Right. If you're in a typical world, you would, yeah. And so I don't know. There's just sometimes where I think tier 4 fighters aren't over the top enough. There's a part of me that's like, tier 4 fighters need to shake the ground whenever they go to war. Yeah. They need to, when the call goes out that the 20th level fighter is marching to war, hundreds join his, thousands join his banners. When the 20th level fighter draws his blade to duel, the time itself stops. That's the kind of thing that I want from my tier 4 fighters. I want it to be over the top and ridiculous and as magical and awesome as D&D is. And yet I look at what we got and I'm like, I like it. Mechanically, it works. I think it's good. We've watched a couple of fighters go up to that high level, but it's still not as over the top as I want.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not playing the right game. They have a 3rd edition of Exalted,
Oh my God. We will do a show on Exalted one day.
Oh, that beautiful tragedy that is Exalted Second
It
Edition.
is so beautiful, and you think Third Edition took forever to play?
Oh my God.
Combat encounter.
Yeah, that's true.
Jeez.
Oh, you're rolling 20 d10s.
We get to talk about Seventh Coil Around the Mountain again.
We could.
One of my favorite characters ever.
Maybe sometime soon we'll get to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's all of our Unearthed Arcana options for 5th edition fighters. I believe our producer said we're going to stick around and answer some questions.
Hello,
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Travis.
Excellent. What are you hoping for? Unearthed Arcana comes out tomorrow. What are you hoping will be in tomorrow's release?
Oh man, so we've gotten Mass Combat the last couple of weeks, and we've got Traps the week after, which they always release an Unearthed Arcana right after we shoot an episode about something.
God, I was so pissed when I saw that.
Man. So I guess, spoiler alert, Traps will be a show that we do in the coming weeks, but it was obviously filmed before they released the trap.
Right.
What do I hope that they have? I hope that they have more things for the DM. I don't know that I have a specific topic, but I like that the last couple of Unearthed Arcana were DM focused. We've had 3 months of player focused Unearthed Arcana. It would be nice to see a lot more DM focused stuff. Maybe something to do with magic items.
Dude,
I don't know.
we are seriously on the same way. I was just about to say something about magic item creation. Like
Yes,
creating
that'd be great.
magic items. They've already given us the Artificer.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I mean, yeah, it does stuff, but it's like, can they just create magic items? You just pick from this list. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're going to get to that eventually.
We'll get
But
to that.
yeah, we're on the same.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I hope for.
Magic item creation would be awesome. Who knows? But I'm excited. I'm glad they're keeping to the schedule.
Dude, I'm loving it. It's almost too much.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We have Sunday shows for like a year.
Jeez. Agreed.
What are your thoughts on the magical archer?
Just as a concept, or Unearthed Arcana?
Arcane archer.
The Arcane Archer. Well, we kind of covered that last week.
We did
a
that.
breakdown of the abilities, but as a concept, I love it. And yes, I approve.
I'd love to play one.
Can a cleric cast spiritual weapon, then go into sanctuary and not break sanctuary? I think this was answered in the comments, but do you guys want to talk about?
No, well, I'd hate to contradict the comments. My gut reaction is no, because it breaks the spirit of sanctuary.
Yeah, you're making an attack. Just because you don't physically make the attack doesn't mean you didn't cast spiritual weapon to make an attack. So thus,
that's kind of how I would rule it.
Jim, how do you predict they'll end up gathering up this Unearthed Arcana material? How do you think they'll eventually collect all of it? What form you think that'll take?
I think that's the big book of crunch that Mike Merles keeps talking about. All last year, if you followed his Twitter, he'd occasionally mention big book of crunch, just like crunchy granola, like gritty, crunchy, for all you people that like that kind of thing. So I think that's what's coming in the fall. It seems like to me, if there are 3 book releases over the course of a year, there's like the 2 adventures and then the extra book, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, Volo's Guide. I think that's this year's book. And so sometime in the fall, we'll see a lot of these Unearthed Arcana options in print, and probably some repeats from other stuff.
I predict Player's Handbook 2.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to call it Player's Handbook 2. They've come out and said that they didn't want to do that because they don't want to confuse people. But I think in spirit, it will be a Player's Handbook 2.
But yeah, all of these are polished up Unearthed Arcana options and all that. Yeah, that's all going to be in one big old fun book, and I'm all there.
Yeah. Tales of the Yawning Portal is kind of it has the appearance of something that they were kind of working on for a long time. And we're just like, we'll throw this out. Tales of the Yawning Portal covers a lot of things people have been asking about. Big Book of Crunch, and then like the big set piece adventure will be this fall. That's my prediction. Who knows if I'm right?
What do you guys think of D&D Beyond?
I signed up for the beta. Who knows if what it entails. I like digital tools, so
I haven't really used them because the last adventure or edition. I didn't DM, so
Oh yeah.
I haven't signed up for the beta.
I'll be honest. I loved the 4th edition DM tools, the D&D Insider, the getting the books, the character builder, the monster builder, all of it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it was the thing I hated to give up the most whenever we stopped playing 4th edition. I'm curiously optimistic, and hopefully over the coming weeks, as we see what D&D Beyond has for us, we'll be able to talk about it more.
I like this question. What is your favorite fighter build, Pruitt?
Oh man, favorite fighter build?
Jeez, man.
This is going to be purely academic, because honestly, other than Rilvian, I haven't played a fighter yet.
I'm assuming we're trying to restrict it to 5th edition, because you've played plenty of fighters.
I've played plenty of fighters. Okay, yeah. So if we want to talk about my favorite one ever, it'd probably be Tobias the Ebb and Foe.
Yeah,
because he was just that 3rd edition dual wielding beast of a spring attack, whirlwind attack. But right. That aside,
so yeah.
5th edition.
If you're gonna play a fighter today, which would you play?
If I was gonna play a fighter today, what would I play? It'd be very hard for me, because I really love the archer. I might go sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Maybe just dip my toes in hunter, or ranger hunter. I don't know.
For the most part, go sharpshooter.
Yeah, but for the most part, go sharpshooter, and yeah, just do a hunter ranger. Sharpshooter fighter. 317 maybe. I don't know. Is there 18, 19, or 20? I'd lose that last attack, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I don't know if that extra D6 per attack. Man. Yeah, that's but yeah. It's tough.
It's tough for Pruitt.
There's so many options now, because I really want to play a samurai.
Travis, this is the worst. This is the worst question to ask. Dude,
seriously, we're just gonna talk about all the fighter options again. So we're gonna start with champion. Champion gives anyway. No.
Yeah.
Hey, I would say samurai or sharpshooter right now with what all the options we have. That's what I really want to play.
All right, good answer. This was the question that I was looking for. What's a good character sheet to use other than the one that's in the PHP?
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I use a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
I hate to be that flippant, and I know people really like their character sheets. I like it. I like a character sheet where everything is on one page. I don't like to have to flip. I don't like to have to turn. On one page. I find for myself, I use a blank sheet of paper, no lines, no nothing, just character.
Honestly, I don't have any problem with the character sheet in the player's handbook with it blank on the back. It gives me everything I need, so I don't use anything else. So I don't feel. It's a very long-winded way of saying that. Yeah.
Here's what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Character sheet. Anyway. I'm kind of with Pruitt. When I use a character sheet, I use just the one that was included. I used to really like Mad Irishman's character sheets during 3rd edition, but I haven't really checked to see if Mad Irishman has any good character sheets for this edition. So sorry we can't be more helpful, but that's the honest answer.
What things from previous editions would you like to see be brought to the 5th edition fighter, if any?
The ability to use any magic item. If I recall, the early editions of D&D, fighters could use any magic item, including like spell completion items like staves of power, wands, things like that. That's what I would see.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean,
kick-ass saves is a second.
Yeah. No. For me. Thank you. Yes, because your brother was talking about this earlier. Yeah. Some way to be more robust with saves, because saves is just like, you can take resilient once,
but
maybe hit 3. But yeah, make sure you got a paladin nearby.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Yeah, I could be misremembering, but my hazy memory of earlier editions were that their fighter saving throws tended to be very good, and just got better as they leveled.
And just the reward for higher strength. I always love that about second edition. Like when you start getting a percentile strength with 18, shit like that. I don't know. I always love that. I had 1892 one time.
I mean, I love these Q&As, but these poor people, they're going to ask us questions and we're never going to have just one answer for them. Maybe that's why they like it. I don't know.
That's okay. We're just, hey man, we're just filling time right now. No.
All right, couple more. So here's one that I thought was interesting. Poisons. All right. Has poison crafting been addressed? How do we feel about how poison functions against magic and other player abilities?
So it's kind of a three-parter there. I don't know that poison crafting has been addressed. I know that there's a poison kit in the player's handbook that references something that isn't quite clear what it does. And there's rules for sample poisons in the DMG, but I don't know that there's actually like, how do you not kill yourself in making one of them? How do you extract the materials needed from the environment or creatures? So more robust poison creation rules would be handy.
I remember seeing a homebrew potion kit creation doc. I cannot remember. I will try to find it, and maybe I'll post it in the comments if I can find the link to it. But it was really cool because it was just samples of different kinds of poisons and the different effects that they would have, like a minus on con save or your constitution for X amount of minutes or hours, stuff like that. But it was all done, and there were rules for handling poison and stuff like that. So like I said, pretty sure I saved it, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
I'll try to find it.
In terms of how it interacts with magic, boy, it certainly does seem like it's easy to completely bypass poison as a threat to the party very easily. So if you are relying on poison yourself, like a player, keep in mind that it's trivially easy to become immune or highly resistant to poisons. And then if you're a DM looking to use poison against the party, just bear that in mind. It could be that the party, if they anticipate poison use, will have the necessary spells that pretty much negate it. So, brothers of mine, I mean, from a player perspective, use poisons. Do it. It's extra damage. If I'm remembering correctly, it doesn't stack. It doesn't get multiplied on a crit because it's not a part of the attack. It's sort of an ancillary effect because of the attack. So, that's kind of a thing to keep in mind. But yeah, load up on vials of purple worm poison and coat all of it. For high-level campaigns, DMs, like just give your enemies tons of poison attacks against the party. Either they're prepared against it or they're not. But it's extra damage that your villains can be thrown against them.
All right, I like it. Last one. I want to build a fat clown character. How could I do that with a martial class?
Ooh, well, first off, stat-wise, you go decent strength, decent con. Like maybe lower their dex, but I don't know. Big people can be surprisingly agile, as Chris Farley would. Anybody who's a fan of Chris Farley would be able to tell you. So,
or Jack Black.
Don't skip out on the decks just because they're chubby. Let's see. How would you do it? I might go if it were me.
I mean, are we talking like actual clown?
Like an actual clown, like
in clown makeup?
Yeah. Like a jester. Are you talking, or are they talking about maybe like the darkest dungeon jester, where they've got like the Harlequin outfit and then these wicked knives that come out that they slice people up with? Maybe that's what they're kind of talking about. With a martial class, I would probably go with a rogue fighter, maybe thief champion, if I was multi-classing. But I think I'd probably tend towards rogue, just because that's where you're going to get the weird acrobatic type abilities in. You get a nice damage boost from sneak attack and can use a decent variety of weapons. Maybe a little bit of fighter if you wanted to be a little bit tougher or use a wider variety of weapons or something. But I think I'd lean mostly towards rogue myself. And then what they look like is almost cosmetic at that point, unless you want their girth to be something that you benefit from mechanically, in which case you're on your own there.
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right,
I like the idea of that concept, though.
I do too. Take us out with a song, Pruitt.
take us out with a song.
You don't have to actually sing. Just end the show.
Oh, okay. I was like, we could sing "Living on a Prayer." That popped in my head right away. But anyway, well, it's I guess we're done here. I hope we answered all your questions to the best of our ability. We'll be down in the comments. Yep, we'll be down in the comment. I'll be down in the comments the next few days, saying hi and whatnot. But we'll have our regular show on Wednesday, as always. Back on Sunday for some more Unearthed Arcana. What do we got next week?
It'll be monks next week.
Monks? Yeah.
Yeah, they're next. So we'll do monks. And hey, there's some cool options for monks. We can talk. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody that tuned in, everybody that's watching later on. Hey, it's almost like it's live, but it's not.
It's not.
But however you want. But love you. Go ahead and make sure you're, get down in the comments. Tell us what you feel. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe if you're not already. But
spill your guts.
And we'll see you on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday.